So, welcome everybody to the Cambridge Power Platform User Group Autumn 2023. We're absolutely scooting through 2023, nearly done, soon be Christmas. Great. We've had lots and lots of new stuff arrive this year, and we're going to take you through some of that today. But we've got a couple of speakers who you can already see at the top here that I want to that are on the user group for the first time, and I can't believe Matt is only just here for the first time, having. Goodness, Matt, I think I first met you at a hackathon that we won together quite some time ago. So it's interesting that you've only just come on. But a couple of good sessions ahead of us today. So let's just show you what's on the agenda. Oh, okay. Let's cover the do's and don'ts first. Please, please, please be nice to each other. If you want to come off mute, then do just ask in the chat, all questions and stuff in the chat, please. But you know, the usual rules apply. If you don't want to be recorded, please don't come off. Don't put your camera on because this is a recorded session and we are going to put that on YouTube later. And please be really patient and understanding. We are all different, and that's what makes the user group great for networking and opinions. And we want to hear everybody out. Oh, so this is me. If we haven't met before, I'm Sharon Sumner. Lovely to meet you. I'm the leader of the user group, and what that means is that I get to introduce lovely people that have fantastic sessions and have some great conversations with the rest of the team. We are completely virtual at the moment. No plans to go in person just yet. I think we're going to stay virtual certainly throughout this year and maybe for the first half of next year. We're really enjoying being online because it means that we get conversation beyond the event on the YouTube channel. So that's really, really nice. But if you want to reach out on the socials, all of my details are on here. Again, lovely to meet you, and I do always say yes to a coffee, genuinely. So if you want to have a virtual coffee or a real life coffee, then just hit me up and we can chat about Office 365 to our heart's content. So what have we got on today? So there's me doing an introduction, and nice to meet you, and please come back again. Please do.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay, so we're back to me. So again, the autumn event for the Cambridge Power Platform was going to have Simon Owen coming along talking to us, but unfortunately Simon's called in sick. So I'm going to take over and talk to you about Copilot in Power Apps, so where we're at. And bear in mind, this has been a really busy week for the Power Platform. There's been the Microsoft Power Platform conference where we've had quite a lot of announcements, go live for Copilot, Empower Automate, extending of regions, etc. So what I'm going to show you in my session is about what's here right now in the preview and how I've had a little play with that. So let me move over to my presentation. One moment. I will just share my screen. Okay, hopefully you can all see that. So, yep. Thank you very much. So if we didn't meet right at the beginning, this is me. So although I look nice and young there, that's lovely. So I'm a Microsoft Business Applications MVP, have been for 4 years. And this year I've also become a Microsoft Regional Director, which is a massive honour and reflective of the fact that I'm very involved in the commercial and large enterprise side of how Microsoft is adopted and enabled. And those are the kind of conversations that I like to be in. I'm the CEO of Business Cloud Integration, which is what we used to call a Microsoft Gold Partner, and we now call a Microsoft AI Cloud Solutions Partner, or something nice and long-winded like that. But basically, it's a really talented group of people that I adore working with. My claim to fame is that I do admit that I love SharePoint, such that you can find me on LinkedIn if you search for SharePoint Sharon, or just put that in Google and you'll probably find me. I've got a blog and all those lovely things, so do connect with me. It'd be lovely to see you all out there in the virtual world. And if you are around in the Cambridge area in the UK, or you're at an event that I'm at, then do hit me up for a coffee and we will sit and chat about Power Platform and all things Microsoft and Copilots. So would love to meet you all in person, or if you've got time for a virtual coffee and you want to chat about these things, then do just connect with me and let's talk. Okay, on with the session. So let's talk about AI for business. So as I said, I'm really very much in the commercial mindset. So while I love the tech and I love going and playing with the tools, for me, it's about value for business. So let's talk specifically about the challenges and the values on the flip side of that we get as business owners from AI. So the challenges are not new, and they're true for all businesses. We have a massive skill shortage in IT. I think Reuters declared it as something like a 4 million shortage in IT skills. And that's a real problem for those of us that are delivering IT services or leveraging it in our businesses, and looking for suppliers to give those services to. So it's a massive problem. All the rest of these are, again, apply to every business: being competitive, being efficient and productive, and knowing how to use your own knowledge and insight. The longer a business goes for, the more information there is in that business that can be leveraged to learn from, to make ourselves more competitive, efficient and productive. So when we think about the value that we can get relating to those challenges from AI, what can we do with this AI, with this new technology that's going to help? So one of the biggest things for me is that these large language models that exist out there in OpenAI, ChatGPT, whatever it is, the platform, DALL-E, etc., that you're looking at, the large language models in themselves, super useful. And I think it's true that all team members become more productive when they've got access to that effective global knowledge that's been curated into a large language model. But what makes it more powerful for me when you're looking at an enterprise or right down to small business is the context of relevant data to you. So if you think about your Office 365 tenant and the documents that you've created, the documents we've created in our business over the last 10, 15 years are all there to help us be better, be more efficient. But if we can't use that documentation, then, there's no point in having it. So leveraging the knowledge from that documentation is key, and mapping that with these large language models so that we don't only have the view of the world knowledge, but also then additionally in context our own knowledge and skills and experiences. So I seriously believe that when we work faster and when we get better at what we do, we innovate more, and that's really what we need right now. So you see the speed at which AI is developing. It's because it's happening so quickly. Innovation is there, and it's lovely to see markets grow like that. And I think that that's the benefit. One of the key value statements that businesses are going to get is an increase in innovation, and we need it. After COVID, we really need an innovation boost. I do think all teams become more productive because it doesn't matter where you are in a business. If you're leveraging AI, then you've got, at least in this remote working environment, it's almost like having somebody to talk to, somebody to back up your opinion, somebody to validate with, or somebody to explain to you what something means. If you're not quite getting it, somebody's giving you an instruction to perform a task, you can say to an AI chatbot, what does this mean? What are they asking for? And it'll give you another educated opinion. And again, leveraging your own data. So we do an awful lot of work around mergers and acquisitions, migrating data in and out of SharePoint or one of the SharePoint technologies, Teams, OneDrive, or even in Dataverse. The point about AI is that it doesn't really need your data to be structured to be able to add it to its model. Massive win for businesses, and some value that you can get back without going through the pain of structuring your data. Not saying you shouldn't, just saying it's there. But of course, all these things come with risks. One of the key risks is thinking that AI replaces people. It doesn't replace people. What it does is it augments their skill set. There's no way, I'm not a C# coder. I can probably read C# at a push, but if I gave some code to an AI model and said, what does this do? It would be able to explain it to me. But that doesn't mean that I'm instantly a professional C# coder, because if the system were to give me some code that I'd asked it to write, I wouldn't have the skills to know whether that was right, wrong, or compliant, useful to my business, etc. So think about it as augmenting skills. It's helping people be more productive. It takes away the whole, if you're stuck on something, you've got to go to a search engine, which seems really old-fashioned now. Ask it a question, refine your question, validate that the answer that you get back even applies to you and your situation and your technology, understand what it's telling you, and then be able to implement. AI is going to be able to squish that for you and deliver you a more accurate answer to the questions that you're putting to it. So don't think about it as we're going to replace 25% of our staff. Think about it as all of our staff are going to get a performance boost by being able to augment their skills with knowledge, which is essentially what these large language models are. Obviously, we have the risk of exposure of confidential data and the security and data loss prevention concerns. And I don't know any organisation that isn't currently going through an issue with at the exec level in an organisation where we aren't questioning what's our AI strategy even before we have the tools, because there is concern and fear about confidentiality of data and data loss. And that's always going to be the way until we get more information about how these things are going to pan out, and until we put in a strategy that understands how the technology works, how it benefits us, and how we need to control it. The other thing, obviously, is that it levels the playing field. So everybody can do all this good stuff now. And of course, that's it raises its own risks. We don't have time to go through those today, but it's a great conversation if anybody ever wants to get into that one. So what is the most powerful programming language? And I think without a shadow of a doubt, it's absolutely natural language. Just describe what you want and let the tools and the platform do the rest for you. And I think this is the key insight that Microsoft has picked up on. And I think if you look at what Microsoft is developing, it's not a Copilot here and a Copilot there. It's an absolute AI platform that's being put in place. And if you understand that this is a platform to be leveraged, when you start looking at some of the individual tools and the copilots and the use of that technology in there, you can have a bit more of an understanding of, okay, I can see why this one is not as great or not as detailed as I hoped it would be, because it's a layer that's applied across all of the tool sets. So at the moment, they're putting in that foundational platform layer, and they're going to release the Microsoft 365 Copilot is leveraging that. It's bringing in those large language models like ChatGPT. It's giving us a bunch of connectors. It's being able to connect into that platform layer, and the integration with Azure and M365 is just going to highlight how it's doing that for you. So your AI platform right now, the stuff that you can actually use is building with those copilots and leveraging your company knowledge in a safe, context-driven. Microsoft 365 Copilot is going to offer the ability to keep your data in your environment and put those security wrappers around it. It's going to be great to see how that fleshes out and how that actually is delivered, but that is the promise that we're looking at. So that's what we've got right now. But AI is moving at speed. So what's coming? Well, I believe the best is still yet to come, because everybody has the ability to leverage this platform. And if you look at how Microsoft is positioning that AI platform, it's designed for third parties and for organizations to use it to build their own tools to help make their businesses better. And that's where we're really going to get the business value out of the Microsoft AI platform. So let's come straight back down to how are we using AI in Power Apps. Now, Power Apps has been using AI for quite some time now. And if we look at the timeline of integration into Power Apps, we go all the way back to May 2021. So the ideas implementation that was put within the Power Apps modules itself is actually GPT-3 under the hood. So this reasoning here and those suggestions are all GPT generated. We've then moved on a year later to give us Express Design, which it's one of those things that I always forget what it's actually called. It's the drawing to app, right? So I make a nice sketch or I do it properly in Figma, and the system will interpret what I'm asking for and effectively shortcut the form design element and the data creation element for us. And that's really been quite useful. But then just less than a year later, we're already at bringing not only the GPT models for supporting you in building your app, but also the ability to put a Copilot in your app so that there is an app context relevant Copilot for your end users to use, which again, really important development. And I don't think there's potentially been enough about that on the releases that have been there so far. So I'm going to show you really quickly some of the stuff that I had to play with in one of the environments. It's not extensive. It's just the kind of stuff that I then go and have a look to see if the system can do it and if it can't. So I'm going to walk you through just a video that I ran of me playing in the Copilot. So the key features that I think are really important with the Copilot in Power Apps is not just the ability to create an app, and I'll show you that in a minute, but then the ability to be able to use it in your app. There's a fine line there between using Copilot and actually being able to crack on and do some of that functionality yourself. I do think that's important to acknowledge. But then the ability to add it into your apps as a feature, that I really like. Those, I think, are the key features. And from the preview that I've played with, what I think, personal opinion, the limitations are these. And I think the fact that it is a single table app will change, but this is what it's currently like in the preview. So you ask for an app and it goes about helping you to create a data table, but just the one. So if you wanted a nice large relational database, not currently there. It's also only Canvas apps at the moment, from what I've played with. There is no model-driven, or are we now calling them model apps? Let me get that right. So the context is slightly limited to just the Canvas app space. It is currently the preview, and again, this may have changed in the last couple of days. It was only available in the US environments, and we can only use Dataverse as a backend data store. So whereas in real life, we may have Canvas apps that are connected to, gosh, anything from an Excel spreadsheet to a SharePoint list, the Copilot is only looking at Dataverse at the moment, which is not a bad thing, to be clear. So let me show you a little bit of playing with this. So this is what you're born with when you arrive in an environment that's got the Copilot, and I'm in a demo environment. So a really simple question. Create a contract management app. Now, for those that have seen any of my videos online, you'll know that I've done this with a Power App many times before. It's a sensible thing to ask to be created because, to my mind, the guts of all businesses are contracts and projects. So, and again, it's really simple. Look, we've got an ID, a name, a description, start and end date, a cost and a status. Sensible things to put in, I think. So I think then what I did was I started thinking about, well, actually, how would I change this and what useful stuff would normally be added to this? So what I asked it to do, and you can see that we've got the Copilot on the right-hand side here. And what that is a toggle on and off ability once you're inside Power Apps. I'll show you that a little later. So I've asked it to add a signed date. So for me, the date that the contract was signed is more important than the start or end date. So it says it's updated that for me. And I left this video in real time so that you can see exactly how long it actually does take. Now, bear in mind, this might be a little slow because it's a US environment and I'm in the UK, and also it's in preview. So in reality, it's probably going to get a little faster than this. So you can see it's put a signed date in there for me. I also asked it to remove the cost, which it's very quickly done. That signed date is a date time, and I don't really want the time. I'm just looking for the date. So I'm going to ask it to change that. Oops, apologies. Let's jump back in there. So I asked it to change that, which it did do. And then I said, okay, from the sign date, add an expiry date as a calculated column 1 year on from the sign date. So it's just in words. I didn't say this column called this plus this. I didn't put in any maths. I didn't tell it specifically what to do technically. I told it in natural language that I needed it to be 1 year on from the sign date. And it has put that in for me. And I've moved on to adding an internal owner as an M365 user. So there's my owner. You can see my expiry dates are 2020 to 2021, 2010 to 2011. So it's nicely added a year on for me, even if it did change the format, and the expiry date is a text field. So I probably would change that. So I'm asking it to add a customer column. So we want to know who the customer is that we're dealing with. That probably would be a text column, or maybe that would be linked to another table. Like I say, at the moment, we can only just use the one table. Let's add a different type of field. So we've already got dates and lists and text. So we're going to add an option field, an option set. So I'm saying, again, just in English, add a contract type with options SLA, NDA, and standard contract. And of course, this is just using sample data to show me this, but it does bring this sample data into the app that it creates for you as well. So this one took a little bit longer for it to execute, but it's now telling me that's done. And we can see there that we have the different types. That's great. I probably do want to do a little bit of amendment here. So I wasn't really interested in the end date. So I'm going to just remove that. It's important to know whether it can remove as well as add. So that was a nice test. And if you do wonder exactly what it's capable of, in the bottom left of the screen, you can see that there are suggestions there of add a row, remove stuff, change the data type, etc. So those are suggestions of what you could be asking it to do. So my end date has gone. I also asked for more sample data because I know that once I'm inside the app, I'm going to want to see different things of different lengths, more of different types in the contract type field, etc. And so that's going to be important to me to have a little bit more data. Now, interestingly, this did take it a minute. So, but I have left this real time. There you go. So we've gone from 5 samples over to 10, and you can see I've got a few more contract types there. So that's great. That's exactly what I needed. So obviously you can carry on in there for as long as you need to, but I've just hit the button to create the app. Now this bit reminds me of in the early days of Power Apps when we had a SharePoint list and we were like, create me an app, and it did all the little cogs, and it was off whirring. And that's what this is doing at the moment. So and as I said, it doesn't always go to plan. It did blow up. I just did a refresh and it came back again. But it is doing a lot of stuff. So it's creating the Dataverse table, it's creating the Power App, it's making sure the two are linked together, it's creating me an initial screen and building a little bit of intelligence into that initial screen as well. So we'll see when it lands that it is, here we are. I mean, this is a usable app, okay? So we've got all of our fields there. We're going to want to change some look and feel of that. We perhaps don't want a lot of these times in as well as the dates, but again, all to be played with. And as you see, we've got the Copilot now that we're in the design surface. So the Copilot is on the right-hand side. And if I just squish that up, it gives a bit more space. So the first thing I said was add a new screen, which you can do quite happily. And let's add a gallery to that screen. And again, we're getting to that point where would it be easier for me to just do insert gallery or instruct the Copilot what to do? So just to be borne in mind. So now I'm just going to have a quick play to see if I can get the gallery to change the fields that are in view in the gallery. Now again, I'm aware that I can very easily do that, select the fields and change the type. but I wanted to see if we could. And we couldn't. And again, let's not forget this is in preview. So, you know, we are in a gallery sample. That's fine. We can see we've got the sample content. We can see that I could link it to a data source. We see that it's definitely called Gallery 1. So I thought I would try and give a more precise instruction to include the term Gallery 1 to show the contact name. And again, it didn't quite work. Again, this could be because it's in preview. It could be because I need to give a more concise request. But again, it would be easier just for me to go and click this button here and go and make the table that I want or edit the individual box to give me the right field. So swings and roundabouts as to how important that feature actually is. So some of the stuff that it shows you here are suggestions that you can do. So in here, we've got add a text label, add a gallery, add a button, and add an email screen. So what I wanted to do is to be able to test, well, hang on a minute, can it do some of those actions? But before I do that, will it delete a screen for me? Okay. Now, I didn't want it to delete my screen, or I wanted it to at least really fight me about deleting a screen. But it just said, no, I can't do that, which I was going to give it a thumbs up, but you do have to fill in the form, so I didn't quite do that. So clicking on one of the suggestions then of add an email screen. Now, I've never once added an email screen to an app, so I'm not quite sure what it's going to create, but I can see how I might want to report an issue with the app while I'm in the app. Maybe that's the thinking behind it. So I hit the button and decided to have a look, see what it would create. And I've got to say, I was pleasantly surprised. So we have a to and a subject and a message. We have a nice little send button. This is not a bad screen. I've got all of the elements down here. It's quite nice. So something else that I do a lot is to add a button. So add a button. Again, could I have just gone insert button? I probably could. But I just wanted to see how quick it was going to execute that. And it really did execute that pretty quickly. So you can see we have a fully functioning app. We have the ability to work with and without Copilot. And there is also the ability to then, if you go into insert and search for Copilot, you can then add your own Copilot. Now, I cut the video off there because it didn't return anything in the search results, and the environment in the way that I've got it configured won't allow me to do that, so I couldn't actually show that to you. So I'm not going to go into as much depth with the rest of the Power Platform, and I really wanted to show you the Power Apps more than anything. So I think you can see from that while we have got a bit of a limited preview, you can see where it's going, that the common function and really the focus is on the initial config, the setup, and getting you into app development quickly while you're not necessarily a data person. You're not going to be writing a data definition in a schema and then passing it to somebody to get that created. This kind of takes away a lot of that pain for you. And I can see that that's going to be massively used, even if it's not necessarily for the finished product. Maybe it's for a very, very fast proof of concept. And I think it'll do that job brilliantly and very quickly. So I did have a look at the rest of the tools in the Power Platform as well while I was here, and you can see that this is the Power Automate front screen, and it's a very, very similar experience in that you've got the Copilot right up front, and you can ask it a question. Now we'll just jump into this a little bit because I wanted to show you just a sneak peek of that design surface that I think they're launching possibly today. But for me, the key features in Power Automate was that it's very much an if this then that style prompt. So you want to say, do this if an email is received, take an action. Yeah, so word your requirements in an if this then that type way, and you'll get the best results out of the flow creation. Again, mention the connector if you know it, because there are several email connectors, for example, with different versions. So if you know which one you want to pick, that's worth giving it exact examples. But to me, the most powerful thing that this one is going to do is if you go into a flow and open up the Copilot in the app experience and say, what does this flow do? It will tell you, which I think is really super powerful, especially if you've got a massively complex flow or you've got switch cases, across the screen. So I'm just going to jump quickly into the video because I want to show you a couple of things. Firstly, right at the beginning, so I've said when a new contract record is created in Dataverse, set an approval by first asking the owner of the approver in a Teams card. So it had a guess that we wanted to, when added or modified or deleted, create an approval. That's not quite what I was looking for. So it gave me an option. Or maybe you were thinking this. That I like, because there are many ways to skin a cat in Flow. This second one is way more like what I was thinking, because it's posting a chat in a channel. Once you've validated your connectors, you're then inside. So it's put all my bits in place, and all I need to now do is configure, which is great. And I did play with what configuration it will do. Some of it was hard, and I think it will get easier. But just showing you the new design surface here, what I really like is this, and I'm just going to pause the video there. This, I think, is a much nicer experience. And if this has gone live today, which I think it has been announced, this is going to be much nicer to work with. The amount of time you spend chasing the little box, chasing the little items, is now gone. This is a much clearer, much nicer space. And this kind of dotted background is very easy to navigate around, and it's, I think, a much nicer design surface. So I'm really looking forward to playing with that in real life, with flows that we've already got. Quickly then, let's move through to Power Virtual Agents. Again, I think Power Virtual Agents has had quite a bit of love. And the best thing that I like about Power Virtual Agents is that you can point it to a live public website. So if you want to point it at Microsoft Learn, which is the example that I used in mine, you can then start asking it questions about what exams are relevant to me if I want to be a Power Platform consultant. And I think in my example, it said, hey, PL 400 looks good for you if you want to be a functional consultant, etc. So I think that's really useful to build into an organization where you're trying to create a constant learning environment. Plus, I think Microsoft Learn and Microsoft Docs have now got some really great information inside there, and it's kept up to date like it never has been. So it's a really nice source for creating generative answers without you having to go through setting up a chatbot in any way, shape or form. So that's really, really nice. And the other thing is the auto create on topics. So if you are building your own bot, you can go into a new topic and it says, do you want me to have a go at creating that? It'll ask you a couple of questions, and it will go about creating a topic for you. Very, very nice. It puts in the questions and the responses, and it's basically so that you don't, again, start from a blank canvas. Really great. Power Pages, I think, has had quite a bit of love too. Slightly different design in the front end here, in that you don't see the Copilot right at the front. You need to create a site, and then once you go in to edit one of those sites, you've then got the Copilot in there as the internal tab. So some of the nice stuff in here, you get these little sparks within the Copilot box, and I think that'll be a common feature, which give you suggestions as to the kinds of things that you can ask for. But for me, when you're writing a page in Power Pages and you're writing a section of text, you can say, make this longer or funnier or more professional, and just click the rewrite button and off it goes. You can ask it to generate based on the small amount of information. So I said, we're a Microsoft service provider, create some service pages, and off it went. Created them, put in sections about services, managed service. It had an intelligent guess as to the elements that were going to be on the page. Great, very, very good. Also, if you're adding if you're adding a form to your page, that is a massive time saving. Instead of jumping out, creating data sets, creating forms, and then coming back again, it does all of that for you. So there's some good time saving to be had in there too. Again, you can add your own Copilot to your Power Pages for the content that's in that kind of set of Power Pages. Again, super useful, and I think it's going to be a really nice version. If you're a code person, if you prefer to be in VS Code when you're editing your Power Pages, don't forget you've also got Copilot in VS Code as well. So that's really just a really quick overview, because I was filling in today and I needed some content for you, of where we're at with the Copilots in the Power Platform right now. If you want to get started, there is this lovely video from the fantastic April Dunham, and that's quite a thing to remember. So if you just look for the Power Platform Copilot Dev Environment Setup, you'll find this video, and she just very easily walks you through how to create your environment, how to license it, and how to get to the point where you can see Copilot, which is really, really handy. Okay, so that's as far as I want to take you. That's the overview of everything that we've got for you in terms of this session. I'm just going to quickly check if there's any questions. I don't think there would have been.
Just some comments. Yeah, it's great to see that stuff in action. So thanks for that. We might really see a lot of people dip their toes in Power Apps, though, since you can actually get something kind of practical done almost with Copilot.
Yeah,
I think it kind of it maybe lowers that initial cliff just the right amount.
Yeah, like I said, I think for proof of concept, massively beneficial tool, because even with very little skill and experience of the Power Platform, you can create something and say, this is roughly what I'm thinking of. Can I please have permission to build this out? And I think that's going to be a massive win for a lot of organizations. Okay, so I think that's going to bring us to a close. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming along, spending some time with us. We will put the recordings of all this available on YouTube. And a quick thank you to my team behind the scenes. We have the lovely Amber, who has done all of the speaker liaison. Thank you so much, Amber. And we have Luke in the background too, being moderator. She is being moderator and team support extraordinaire too. So again, thanks very much for coming along and attending in person today. If you weren't able to attend, we look forward to seeing you online. Please do add comments and reach out to us. If there's some sessions you want to see, if there's some content that you need repeating, give us a shout and we'll look to find some speakers and bring them along to give you some world-class content. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you to our speakers, Tatu and Matt, and we hope to see Simon soon. We hope you feel better, Simon. But again, thanks for attending, and we'll see you all next time.